Natamarandasya Kyananchana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, welcome everyone to our study of Kapila Siksha for Bhakti Vaibhava, and we're on chapter number 29 this evening. Is everyone able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, Maharaj.
Good. Okay, chapter 29, the explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapila. Overview. Well, we were studying in chapter 28 what happened. We heard about Astanga Yoga and meditation leading to devotional service. So now we're going to hear, first of all, the chapter will begin with Devahuti's questions. She has a number of questions to ask, which will be the basis of the rest of the third canto. Will take us to the end of the third canto just about. So that covers the first 5 verses. And then verse number 6 to 14, Lord Kapila will describe devotional service, how it can be practiced under the influence of the modes of nature. And then he will describe what is actually nirguna bhakti. In other words, devotional service without the influence of the modes of nature, or pure devotional service. So that's an important part. And then we will hear about devotional practices and their results, dealing respectfully with all living beings, seeing the Lord in the heart of all different living entities, respecting everyone. Then 28 to 33, gradations of different living entities. And then Kapila's instructions. By following Lord Kapila's instructions, one goes back to Godhead. And then the final section will be 37 to 45, and we'll hear about the devastating effect of time. Well, that's going to be in relation to one of Devahuti's questions. She wants to know about the effect of time. So we're going to hear about that from Lord Kapila. He's going to describe to us in some detail the effect of time. Okay, so those are the topics of the chapter. We'll begin with Devahuti's questions. Here's the first 2 verses. Devahuti inquired, "My dear Lord, you have already very scientifically described the symptoms of the total material nature and the characteristics of the spirit according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Now I shall request you to explain the path of devotional service, which is the ultimate end of all philosophical systems." So you can see Devahuti's understood the position of devotional service. That's actually the end of all philosophies. From the Bhagavad Gita, the goal of Jnana Yoga is to surrender to Krishna, to take up devotional service. So this is being asked by Devahuti. She wants Lord Kapila to explain the path of devotional service. Text 5 says, explain in detail the path of bhakti, which is the root cause of the knowledge of Sankhya and the ultimate end of all philosophical systems. And that will be answered for us in this chapter, from text 7 up to text number 34. We'll hear the path of bhakti described to us. Then Devahuti also wants to know, what is the nature of time by whose fear people perform pious acts? And that will be answered also. Part of it will be answered in this chapter, at the end of the chapter, text 35 to 45. We'll hear about the nature of time, and that will continue in chapter 30. Then Devahuti also wants to know, text 7, describe about the continual process of birth and death, of the jivas, hearing which one becomes detached. And that will be answered in chapters 30, 31, and 32. We'll hear about the process of birth and death. We'll hear about the different modes of nature, the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion and the mode of goodness, going to be described in those 3 chapters, 30, 31, and 32. Lord Kapila will reply to this question. He will describe the process of birth and death. We'll hear about the process of birth, the child in the womb, what happens and how he develops. And we'll hear about death also, what happens. How does it take place and who's there and what's going to happen. It's all explained for us in Lord Kapila's teachings. Devahuti wanted to know, and Lord Kapila enlightened her. All right? Here's a quote from the 2nd verse from Prabhupada's purport. Bhakti Yoga is the basic principle of all systems of philosophy. All philosophy which does not aim for devotional service to the Lord is considered merely mental speculation. But of course, Bhakti Yoga with no philosophical basis is more or less sentiment. So I think most of you have heard this before, something like this before. What does Prabhupada say? Religion without philosophy is what?
Mental speculation.
Religion without philosophy?
It's fanatic.
Sentimental.
Sentimental, right. Religion without philosophy is sentiment only. And philosophy without religion is?
Mental speculation.
Mental speculation, yes, right. So Prabhupada's mentioning like that here. Bhakti Yoga with no philosophy, more or less sentiment. You know, there are many people practice Bhakti Yoga, they don't really understand the philosophy, so they're sentimental. We should hear the philosophy, we should be trained, we should know what is the teachings. All right, can someone read this for me?
Bhakti Priya Mataji. Chitta Hari Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Lord Kapila was very satisfied by the request of his glorious mother, because she was thinking not only in terms of her personal salvation, but in terms of all the fallen conditioned souls.
Keep going.
The Lord is always compassionate towards the fallen souls of this material world, and therefore he comes himself or sends his confidential servants to deliver them. Since he is perpetually compassionate towards them, if some of his devotees also become compassionate towards them, he is very pleased with the devotees.
All right, that's text number 6. What's the title of this slide?
The devotee's compassion attracts the Lord's mercy.
Okay. The devotee's compassion attracts the Lord's mercy. Of course, the Lord is always compassionate, and therefore he comes himself or sends his devotees. So devotees are even more compassionate than the Lord. If some of the devotees also become compassionate towards them, he's very pleased with the devotees. So that's the idea. If we help the Lord in his mission, the Lord is compassionate. If we're also compassionate towards the fallen living entities, then it will be very pleasing to the Lord. Just like Prabhupada explained to us, we want to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we have to assist Lord Nityananda in his mission. Lord Nityananda is preaching and delivering the fallen souls. He's going door to door and asking everyone to chant Hare Krishna, and he delivered Jagai and Madhai. And so if we help Lord Nityananda in his mission, that will attract, that will help, that will qualify us to approach Lord Chaitanya. So we want to please the Lord, we have to help in his mission. Okay, go ahead, read the next slide. 7 to 20, what does it say?
Dayanidhi Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my special obeisances. 7 to 20, various classes of bhakti. Actually, the path of devotional service is one without a second, but according to the devotee's condition, devotional service appears in multifarious varieties, as will be nicely explained in the following verses.
All right, we're going to hear how bhakti appears in varieties. First of all, devotional service in the mode of ignorance. What's the title? 8 to 10?
Performance of bhakti in 3 modes.
Okay, so bhakti in 3 modes. Of course, the bhakti, it's us, we're the ones in the modes. It's not the devotional service is in we have to understand there is pure devotional service, but we're not doing pure devotional service. We're in the modes, and our association with the modes is the cause of the problem. So first of all, devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent and angry, and who is a separatist, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. So what's going to happen? The mode of ignorance, symptomized by persons angry, devoid of compassion. He worships the Lord with intentions of violence, pride and hatred. So if we're in that kind of mentality, then our devotional service is in the mode of ignorance. We should be very careful to guard against the influence of the modes of nature. When we talk about devotional service, we mean actually pure devotional service. But we fail to realize that if we're not in the consciousness of pure devotional service, if our consciousness is influenced by the mode of ignorance, then our activities will be also influenced by the mode of ignorance. We may be worshipping the deities, we may be chanting Hare Krishna mantra on our beads, we may be cooking for the deities, but if we're doing it in this kind of mood, angry, no compassion, and intention of violence and pride and hatred, then this is the mode of ignorance. That it's not really what we would think as devotional service. Well, it's devotional service, but devotional service in the mode of ignorance. We're not going to get very good results from such kind of things.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
Maharaj, sorry for the interruption, Maharaj. Before me, His Grace Rajesh Prabhu has lifted his hands for some question. Followed by his question, I have a question to be asked, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat Pranams. Maharaj, my question was on the first and the second verses. Here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the purpose of elaborately describing the influence of time is to detach the conditioned soul from his material activities, which are considered to be simply a waste of time. So here, with very strong words, Srila Prabhupada is describing material activities simply as a waste of time. And I was contemplating on the application of this and wondering if I should take early retirement and things like that. So what's the right application or the right balance of this, Maharaj? Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Well, the right application, of course, it's going to depend on every individual and their personal circumstances. You have to consider for yourself, is it appropriate for you to retire, to take early retirement? What is your situation? Are other people depending on you? You have to consider your own situation. It shouldn't just be something which is spontaneous. We have to plan carefully. There should be some proper thought processing going on, and then you think about it and you prepare yourself for it. Not that you just suddenly decide, okay, that's it, I'm going to decide that I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to retire. You have to think carefully, and you should be planning, make a plan, how long you're going to work, exactly, how long do you need to work, and what you're going to do once you retire. Where are you going to be? What are you going to do? Yes, it's good to certainly it's good. Generally, the Vedas say, Panchash Sordvam Vanam Brajit. When one comes to the age of 50, then we should prepare to go to the forest. And Srila Prabhupada describes going to the forest means to take the shelter of the Krishna consciousness movement. And for this purpose, we have centers like Mayapur and Vrindavan. And more recent times, other centers have also opened up. For example, there's one center in Kerala there, not far away from Guruvayu. We have a South Vrindavan, I think they call it.
Yes, Maharaj.
So there's a nice community there developing. And like that, it's all very good for us to, situate ourselves in the association of devotees. to have the association of devotees, and that we can more immerse ourselves in the activities of devotional service. But as I say, you know, we shouldn't just impulsively decide these things, and you have to, you know, you have to consider everything properly, the pros and cons, and then make your decision, guided by superiors, maybe also.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is pertaining to this slide here on 2 points, Maharaj. One is, if Maharaj can throw some light on the word separatist, Maharaj, separatist.
Yes, that's coming up. There's going to be discussed. There's another slide which will explain this word, separatist.
Sure, Maharaj. And also the third serial, Maharaj, where it says, worships the Lord with intentions of violence, pride and hatred.
Yes.
This is about the violence, Maharaj. What does this exactly mean here in this aspect?
Well, sometimes, you know, we do have that intention within our minds. You know, we have some hatred and problems with others, and we have some, you know, we have some violent feelings. We want to see harm done to others.
Okay, Maharaj.
That's, you know, the intentions of violence. You want, you have some just bad feelings, bitter relationships with others, and we want to actually see something violent done to them. And sometimes people even hire Brahmins, you know, to make a curse, to curse someone and to cause harm to them, because they have bitter feelings towards people, so they want harm, some inauspiciousness to enter in their lifestyle. So like that, they actually have violent intentions, want to do harm to others rather than good. Devotees, we should want to do good for others, but sometimes, due to the influence of the mode of ignorance, we want to do harm to others. Because of things like pride and hatred, ignorance, it's all ignorance, of course, it's the mode of ignorance. And this is how it manifests in these forms. Violent, we want to harm others, we hate people. Yeah?
Maharaj, actually, from a very normal life, one does a great penance, and by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, one takes up bhakti, and again, after taking up bhakti, one falls down into this mode of ignorance. What is the result of such a devotee, Maharaj?
Well, hopefully he'll get some good association, and someone will talk him out of his ignorance and help him to come up to the mode of goodness and go on, become situated in pure goodness. We need association. We have to be guided, you know. We all can easily be influenced by the mode of ignorance, and we have to be properly guided by senior devotees to help us to see the foolishness of these things and to come out of the ignorance and come up to the mode of goodness. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary here. An important point. One should not say that bhakti becomes tamasic. And so we put actually devotional service in the mode of ignorance. It's not really proper. Vishwanath Chakravarti says, rather, the particular person in question is tamasic. Yes, it's the person who's tamasic. It's not the devotional service itself which is tamasic. He is angry. Sambrambi. He does not see happiness and distress equally in himself and others. Binadrik. In other words, he is without compassion, without a goal of violence, pride and hatred. the angry person with no compassion who performs bhakti, to me is tamasic. They perform bhakti to Krishna, he is tamasic. If he does it with no compassion, if he does it with a violent mood, with pride and hatred, anger, then he is tamasic. He may be doing bhakti, but he is tamasic because of the qualities which he's manifesting. Okay? Now, we'll hear about separatists in a minute. The worship of deities in the temple by a separatist with a motive for material enjoyment, fame, and opulence is devotion in the mode of passion. That's text number 9. Worship the Lord with desire for other objects, with goals of material gain, fame, or wealth. He's the pujari, he's worshipping the Lord, but look at where his mind is. He's thinking about so many material things. So this is devotion in the mode of, he is in the mode of passion, we could say. He may be worshipping the deities, but he is in the mode of passion, because his motive is material enjoyment or fame or opulence. We have to guard against these things. We may be thinking, oh, I'm the pujari, I'm worshipping the deity, but if our motivation is like this, it's not good. The word separatist must be understood carefully. The Sanskrit words in this connection are binadrik and pritagbhavaha. A separatist is one who sees his interest as separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Mixed devotees, or devotees in the mode of passion and ignorance, think that the interest of the Supreme Lord is supplying the orders of the devotee. Just see, this is ignorance. They're not pure devotees, they're devotees, but they're mixed with the modes of nature, mixed with passion and ignorance. And they're thinking that the interest of the Lord is to supply the orders of the devotee. Yeah, can someone read this for me?
Girirani Mataji?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Pranams Maharaj. The interest of such devotees is to draw from the Lord as much as possible for the sense gratification. This is the separatist mentality.
Go ahead, Mary.
Mayavadis, however, interpret this word separatist in a different way. They say that while worshipping the Lord, one should think himself one with the Supreme Lord. This is another adulterated form of devotion within the modes of material nature.
So you can see the difference, how the Mayavadis interpret these words in such a different way from the devotees. They're saying, worshipping the Lord, we should think ourselves one with the Lord. So this is not pure devotion. This is also devotion in the modes of nature. Mixed devotion. You can see the Mayavadis, their desire, of course, they're thinking oneness, become one with the Lord. And they speak about devotion. But ultimately their goal is that, this merging, oneness. Is that all right? Everyone's clear? Separatist? They want to get as much as possible for their sense gratification from the Lord. They're not thinking about giving service, they're taking service. So this is the separatist mentality. This must be avoided, of course. This is not in the line of pure devotion. Continuing.
Gopijan.
When a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities in order to free himself from the inevitabilities of fruitive activities, his devotion is the mode of goodness. One worships the Lord with the desire to destroy karma. 2. Makes his work as an offering to the Lord. 3. Worships as a matter of duty. And 4. To achieve liberation.
So all of these 4 different headings, they're all in the category of the mode of goodness. Somebody wants liberation. That's the mode of goodness. Someone else thinks we worship the deity, it's my duty. We do it out of duty. We don't do it with love. We don't do it with real devotion. No, it's my duty. Another person makes his work as an offering to the Lord. He's thinking, I'm giving this, I'm doing this for Krishna. You know, we're thinking, Krishna's fortunate, I'm doing so many things for him. We should be thinking, I'm so fortunate that I'm allowed to work for Krishna. And often the mode of goodness, the mood is to destroy karma. That I have a lot of heavy karma, my bad karma is troubling me. Let me do devotional service and it will get rid of all my bad karma. So this is the influence of the mode of goodness, which again is still material, is still on the material platform. It's not really what we want to encourage. As devotees, we want to come to the level of pure goodness. We want to transcend even the mode of goodness. So we should be clear about these things. We can see how the modes of nature influence us in all the different activities we may be doing. Deity worship and chanting the holy name and even giving class. We may give class, sometimes somebody say, give class for my purification, give class to get rid of my karma, or give class to let people know what a great devotee I am, or like that, you know, for our name and fame. So we have to be careful. We want to come to the transcendental level, to do everything simply for the pleasure of Krishna. Okay, we'll go ahead, hear more about the process of devotional service. Someone can read this?
Yes.
Janki,
Yeah. Pranam Maharaj. The manifestations of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material conditions, flows towards the Supreme Lord.
Thank you. So now we're hearing unadulterated devotional service. In other words, pure devotional service is being described. The mind is at once attracted to hearing Krishna's name and qualities. And then example is given, the water of the Ganges flows to the ocean. So, of course, we heard about the Ganga before in Queen Kunti's prayers. Do you remember that verse? About the Ganges flowing to the sea? As the Ganges flows forever to the sea, let my attraction be born to you in the same spontaneous way. Tvai me nanda visha. Yes, do you know the verse?
Tvai me ananya vishaya matir madhupate asakrit ratim udvata adha gange vogam udannati.
Thank you. Yes, good. As the Ganges flows forever to the sea, let my attraction be born to you in the same spontaneous way. So here, similar thing, as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, the ecstasy of hearing Krishna's name and qualities, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. So, interesting example given, describing the mode of pure devotional service. Okay, more about the characteristics of devotional service beyond the modes. Okay. Yes?
Characteristics of pure bhakti beyond the modes. That bhakti is beyond the gunas. Absence of results other than bhakti and lack of obstructions from other process. The devotees do not accept any kind of liberation unless it involves service to me. This is the highest state of existence by which one surpasses the three gunas and attains prema for me.
All right. So that bhakti is beyond the gunas. In other words, it's pure devotional service is transcendental. There's no influence of passion or ignorance, and even the mode of goodness is overcome. It's above that. The absence of results other than bhakti. If we're still in the modes, then we're always thinking about the results. We want to see, what result am I going to get? What's going to come of it? We're thinking in that way. But when we go above the modes, then we're not worried about the results. We do it for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure, not to enjoy the results. If you want to enjoy the results, that's karma kandi. We want to enjoy the results. And devotional anyabilasita sunyam jnana karma jnanavritam. Right? The desires for fruitive activity and philosophical speculation are removed. Anyabilasita sunyam, pure devotional services without these desires. So the absence of results other than bhakti. And then lack of obstructions from other processes. Different processes may be obstructing our devotional service. Different processes have so many different requirements, what you have to do. But devotional service doesn't have any of these kind of restrictions. Devotional service can be done by anyone, anytime, and any place. But other processes, there will be so many rules and regulations, obstructions, observations, many problems. But devotional service for everyone. Then the devotees do not accept any kind of liberation unless it involves service to me. The devotee is not thinking about his own liberation. What is he thinking? He's simply thinking service. What will I be able to do service for the Supreme Lord? The devotee is not interested in his own liberation, but if he has the opportunity to do service, then he would accept it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all I want, devotional service, birth after birth. So that should be the mood of the devotee. I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want a lot of fame and people chanting my name. I simply want devotional service, birth after birth. So the similar here, devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Liberation, that's for the jnanis. Devotees are not interested in liberation. Devotees are interested in bhakti. So this is the highest state of existence by which one surpasses the three gunas and attains prema, for me. So the highest state of existence. Okay, go ahead. Characteristics of guna bhakti. Yes?
Can I have one question, Maharaj, on the previous slide?
Right, okay.
Maharaj, in the third point, lack of obstructions from other processes, when we do devotional service, we say that sometimes Krishna tests us, whether we are really devoted to him. So that test comes as an obstruction in our path. So how do we consider with this point, Maharaj?
Well, lack of obstructions from other processes. The point is that devotional service is not going to be affected by all of these obstructions. Devotional service doesn't care. It doesn't depend on any material facilities or anything. Devotional service can be done anytime, any place, in any condition. It doesn't depend on. And there are no requirements. The only requirement for devotional service is simply the sincere desire to render service to the Lord. So obstructions from other processes, that's just something, that's just something in our mind. We're thinking, oh, this is a problem. But actually, there's no obstruction to devotional service. Nothing can impede devotional service. Because devotional service doesn't depend on any material facilities. But the obstructions from other processes, that's talking about different things. Oh, this time, you have to do it this time, you have to do it there, you can't do it here, you have to do it there, you have to have this, you can't have that. So many different restrictions would be there. And these are like obstructions. But all the obstructions, they're all broken away by the power of bhakti. But just by surrendering to Krishna, all the obstacles in our path, they're all removed. You have to have that faith. The devotional service will remove all of the obstacles on the path.
Is there anywhere Krishna tests us our devotion towards him? Or Krishna accept us as we are?
Well, it will depend. Sometimes some devotees may be tested, and some devotees, Krishna will accept them as they are. It's not hard and fast. It's going to vary from people to people. Some people, they will be tested. Generally, we do find devotees are tested before Krishna actually accepts us. He wants to see our sincerity of purpose. So the test is for that purpose, to bring out our sincerity in serving the Lord.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, any other questions? We'll go ahead. Yes?
That was Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, these 2 points, the devotional service with the liberation is mode of goodness. How we can understand that devotees is accepted the liberation unless involves only the service. And we know that the devotees are working to liberation, as well as we know that it is up to the Krishna, his desire. So how these 2 points, how we can understand, Maharaj?
How we can understand, first of all, that devotee will accept liberation unless there's service to Krishna. Right? Is that your question?
Yes.
How we could understand that devotee would not accept liberation unless he had the chance to do service to Krishna.
Yeah, in the previous slide, it says that it is mode of goodness.
To want liberation is a mode of goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Right. To achieve liberation.
To achieve liberation, yeah.
Right.
It's a mode of goodness.
Right.
So these 2 points, how can you understand this?
Well, devotee is not simply in the mode of goodness. The devotee is transcendental. The devotee is not in the mode of goodness. He's not trying to enjoy the mode of goodness. The devotee is on a transcendental platform. In the mode of goodness, the devotee is thinking about his own liberation. But on the transcendental platform, the devotee is thinking about giving himself to do service for the pleasure of the Lord. The devotee is not just simply thinking about liberation, that's not his goal. The devotee just wants to please Krishna. Liberation can be had any time for a devotee. There's a famous verse, it's about, who is it? Anyway, the devotee is saying, liberation is standing with arms folded, waiting to serve me. This is how the devotee sees liberation. The happiness of devotional service far surpasses the happiness of liberation. And devotional service, generally we say, it begins on the platform of liberation. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na shochati na kanchati. So Brahma Bhuta, that is the platform of liberation. That is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So devotee is not anxious at all for liberation. What the devotee wants is service to Krishna. His happiness comes in serving Krishna, not in liberation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu derives liberation. He said, I don't want wealth, I don't want women, I don't want followers. All I want is devotional service, birth after birth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't even ask for liberation. He just simply asks for devotional service, birth after birth. Why? Because devotional service, the happiness of devotional service is so great, it's far beyond the happiness you get from liberation. You understand?
Yes, Maharaj.
And what was the other question? That was the first part, right? And then the second part was?
Yeah, it is clear, Maharaj.
Oh, it's clear. It's clear now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Characteristics of Guna Bhakti. Would someone like to read?
Manjari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Avichinna, without interpretation. No material condition can stop the flow of the devotional service of a pure devotee, as the flow of the Ganges cannot be stopped by any condition.
It's no interruptions, not no...
Sorry. Yes. I was wrong. Sorry.
Without interactions, right? Interactions. So the example is given about the Ganga, that it flows without interaction. Nothing stops the flow of the Ganga. So in a similar manner, devotional service of the pure devotee is like that. There's no material condition to stop the flow of devotional service. No material condition. We think, oh, we can say, oh, it's too hot, I can't do service today. Oh, it's too hot, I'm not going to cook today. Or, oh, I'm too cold, I'm not going to do this. No, there's no the material conditions don't affect the pure devotee. The devotional service goes on. Just like Prabhupada, we saw Srila Prabhupada travel the world everywhere, and same program every day, practically, the same program. He'd be in New York, and he'd go out in the back garden in his gamsha, and he'd have a massage, and he would write. Of course, he'd wake up in the middle of the night and translate his books, and in the morning go for a walk. And similarly in London or Mumbai, wherever he was, similar program, morning walk, go for japa walk, and in the middle of the night translating books, and preaching in the afternoon, and morning class, all of these things. Devotional service was going on. Didn't depend on location. Every place, everywhere, the same program. Prabhupada gives the example about the machine which is used for threshing rice. He said, wherever you put the machine, it will do the same thing. And so the same way devotees like that. Wherever you put the devotee, the same thing. They will chant, they will read the books together, and they will offer obeisances to each other. You'll see the devotees, this is the nature of devotees. That they can only do these things, they just think. Krishna and Krishna's service. They have no other thoughts, no material thoughts. Okay, go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Ahituki means without reason. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes.
Avyavahita means without cessation. A pure devotee must engage in the service of the Lord 24 hours a day, without cessation. His life is so molded that at every minute and every second he engages in some sort of devotional service. Another meaning of the word avyavahita is that the interest of the devotee and the interest of the Supreme Lord are on the same level. The devotee has no interest but to fulfill the transcendental desire of the Supreme Lord.
Thank you. So devotees acting without cessation. This is, of course, we have to understand that they continue to eat and they continue to sleep, they get rest also, because all of these things are part of devotional service. For the pure devotee, he eats for the service of Krishna. And he sleeps also to maintain his body healthy so that he can serve Krishna. Someone was asking me, why Prabhupada has to wear a sweater? He's a liberated soul. He should be transcendental to the cold. But he has a material body. He has to, in some sense, his body is affected by the different conditions. So he would wear a sweater to protect himself from the cold, from the elements. It's not against devotional service. And finally, the interest of the devotee and the interest of the Lord are the same. Just like in a family, the father and the sons, they have the same interest. Their interest is in the development of the family. And so the same way the devotee, his only interest is to fulfill the desire of the Lord. That's the mission of the Lord, not separate. Okay, so these are some of the characteristics of Nirguna Bhakti. All right? Would someone like to read this? What is it? A devotee what?
Prabhu.
Salokya Sashti Samipya Sarupyaikatvam Apiyuta Divyamanamna Grananti Vinamatsevanam janaha. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sashti, samipya, sarupya, or ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
What's the title, Prabhu?
Sorry?
The title?
A devotee desires nothing but the Lord's service.
A devotee?
Desires nothing but the Lord's service.
Okay. Yeah, the desire of the pure devotee. Nothing but the Lord's service. So these different types of liberation, they may be offered to the devotee. Devotee does not aspire for them. Here it said that he does not accept any kind of liberation, even though they're offered. But sometimes Prabhupada will say that devotee may accept this kind of liberation for the service of the Lord, not for their own interests. They won't accept that liberation. It's not their idea. But if there's a chance to do service for the Lord, then they can accept. Okay? Purification of the mind. This is also an important part of Sankhya Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Of course, we heard about how devotee was doing Bhakti Yoga. Let's see, where are we? 329. Somebody can read this verse?
Itana Singha Prabhuji. Punyashri Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna Maharaj, pranams. Devotional practices for the purification of the mind, 15 to 18. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.15. Nishivittena nimittena swadharvena mahiyasa kriya yogena sastena nati histrena nityashaha. A devotee was to execute his prescribed duties which are glorious, without material profit, without excessive violence. One should regularly perform one's devotional activities.
All right, so we're hearing the mental state of a devotee. Must execute his prescribed duties. Do things like chanting the holy name, studying Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the spiritual master, all of these things. And he will do them without consideration of material profit. And certainly there should be no violence, without excessive violence. One should regularly perform one's devotional activities. Okay, that's 15. Let's go ahead, read 16 also.
Radha Rani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Do you have a book? I don't have it on the slides.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Yeah, 1 second. Text 16. Madhishna darshana sparsha puja stuti abhivandanaihi bhuteshu madhvavanaya sattvena sangamena cha. Translation: the devotee should regularly see my statues in the temple, touch my lotus feet and offer worshipable paraphernalia and prayer. He should see in the spirit of renunciation from the mode of goodness and see every living entity as spiritual.
Oh, so this is nice. The vision of the devotee. Regularly see the deities, touch the Lord's lotus feet, and offer paraphernalia and prayers. And then, in the spirit of renunciation from the mode of goodness, see every living entity as spiritual. So, generally we want to be transcendental, but here it mentions, be in the mode of goodness. Generally, the devotee should be in the mode of goodness. And then from the mode of goodness, then it's easier to transcend. Can you go ahead and read text 17?
Radheshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Text 17. Mahatam bahumanena deenanam anukampaya maitraya shaivatma tulleshu yamena niyamena cha. Hare Krishna. The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with the persons who are his equals, but all his activities should be executed under regulation and with the control of the senses. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. All right. So it should be compassionate to the poor. Make friends with persons who are his equal. So we can see the vision of the Madhyam Adhikari here. Respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. Of course, worship the deities and respect the spiritual master and the acharyas. And then making friends with equals, and then being compassionate to the poor. This is all the vision of the Madhyam Adhikari. And he should execute under regulation, control of the mind and senses. Okay, that's 17, and then 18. Who's going to read 18?
So 17, Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
No, we read 17, now it's 18.
Okay, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Adhyatmikanu shravanam nama sankirtanacha me arja varnarya sangena niranka kriya yatatha. Translation. A devotee should always try to hear about the spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple, and although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced.
Okay. Yeah, so we see he has to make some kind of distinction here, avoiding the company of people who are not spiritually advanced. In other words, there are people like atheists and non-believers, people who have no faith. We should avoid their company, definitely. You don't want to have to hear from such people. Some people are critics, very critical, but the devotee, the qualities of the devotee are mentioned. It should be straightforward and simple. In other words, he's not crooked. He's not devious. The example is given just like they may be distributing prasadam, or the teacher may be explaining something. And so he asks the student, do you understand? And the student doesn't like to say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand. So although the student doesn't understand, he said, oh yeah, okay. I understand. But he didn't understand, but he's just hiding the fact. And so like that, sometimes, not straightforward. We shouldn't be crooked, we should be straightforward, we should tell the truth. Just like if they're giving prasadam, you're still hungry, but do you want more? Yeah, okay, take more. Tell the truth, be straightforward. And simple at the same time. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampani Brahmani Gavihastani. It describes the Brahmana, Vidya Vinaya Sampani, learned and gentle. So like that, devotee, the Brahmana, the mode of goodness, he's simple. He's not greedy and he's not envious. And he's friend to everyone, like that. So these are some of the important qualities which should be cultivated by devotees. We'll go ahead. Yes? Oh, sorry. What happened here? Where are we? Yeah, this verse. Because it mentioned about without excessive violence, right? So here we have the example. Yeah, someone can read this? Please read the title.
Minimum violence. Even if a devotee has to commit violence, it should not be done beyond what is necessary. Arjuna engaged in the art of killing, and although killing is forced violence, he killed the enemy simply on Krishna's order. In the same way, if we commit violence as it is necessary by the order of the Lord, that is called Nati Himsa. We cannot avoid violence, for we are put into a conditional life in which we have to commit violence. But we should not commit more violence than necessary or than ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
What was the title?
Minimum violence.
Oh, minimum violence. No, okay, yeah. These things. All right, so violence. Prabhupada's arguing here. There has to be some violence. You can't avoid it in the material world. We do see, for example, how the Jainis, they practice ahimsa, and they will sweep the path, and they will wear ahimsa cloth, and they wear the mask over their face, over their mouth, and filter the water. Everything is done to minimize their violence to other living entities. But still there will be some violence. There are so many creatures which are so tiny, which it's impossible for us to avoid. And just like in the air, there's so many different germs and bacteria, we cannot live practically without violence. But the point is to minimize it. Don't commit more violence than necessary. So Arjuna had to fight. That was ordered. But don't do more than what's required. Once the battle's over, then that's the finish. Then no more violence.
Dandavad Pranams Maharaj.
Yes.
Appreciating the deity. There is a distinction in the manner a neophyte and an advanced devotee appreciate the Lord's presence in the temple. A neophyte considers the Archa Vigraha to be different from the original personality of Godhead. He considers it a representation of the Supreme Lord in the form of a deity. But an advanced devotee accepts the deity in the temple as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
It's a bit more.
This is the vision of a devotee whose devotional service is in the highest stage of bhava or love of Godhead, whereas a neophyte's worship is in the temple is a matter of routine duty. Hare Krishna.
So how did the neophyte see the deity?
As an extension of the Lord.
And how does the advanced devotee see the deity?
He sees no difference between the Supreme Lord and the deities.
Yes, he sees the Supreme Lord is there. He has come as a deity, right? He is directly the Supreme Lord. Yes, someone else wants to say something?
Yes, Maharaj. Can I ask a question here? So we studied an analogy in the earlier section of Bhagavatam where Srila Prabhupada, he compares, the post boxes and the main post office.
Yeah.
To deities and the Supreme Lord. So is it not like comparing here like how a neophyte devotee is saying as the representation of the Supreme Lord and not directly the Supreme Lord?
Well, it's a different case, it's a different example, different circumstance. That example about the post box, that's given just simply to establish that the post box, the deity has to be authorized. It can't just be some concoction.
Right.
Just like somebody may make their own post box, so the mail will never be delivered. So if we manufacture our own form and say this is a deity, then the Lord may never accept the service. There may never be any real reciprocation between the devotees. No advancement made. But here, the point is made, different feelings of different understandings, how the neophyte devotee views the Lord and how the advanced devotee views the Lord. How they view the deity in different ways. The one person, the neophyte devotee, he's considering this deity to be something different from the Lord. He considers it a representation. This is not the Lord, this is just a representation of the Lord. The Lord is like this. This is how it's a representation. But the advanced devotee doesn't think like that. Just a representation. Oh, there's some material elements, and we've dressed them up, and then we say that this is a representation of Lord Krishna. That's a bit like how Mayavadis would actually think when they worship the deity. They think the deity like that, just some representation. And they think ultimately there's nothing. Ultimately everything is void. And this deity is just a representation just to absorb our mind, but ultimately there's nothing.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you. Can I ask one more question, Maharaj, on an earlier slide?
Yeah.
So there we saw that devotee, he does not want any kind of liberation, even if it is offered to him. And then we also hear that go back to Godhead within this lifetime. So I think these two are conflicting instructions. How to understand the two together, Maharaj?
Well, devotee doesn't want liberation, even if it's offered to him. In other words, he's not thinking about his own situation. Because people who want liberation, they're selfish. They're simply thinking about their own position. They're not thinking about service to the Lord. They're simply thinking they want to get out of the material world. Their consideration is they're selfish. They're just thinking about their own situation. There's no consideration of what's for the Lord, giving pleasure to the Lord. But they're just thinking, let me out of this hell. Let me out of this world. Give me liberation. Free me from my karma. Free me from all the modes of nature. Let me get into the transcendence. So there's no real thought about the Lord or devotion to the Lord. The mood is just simply me, what I want. That selfish nature is there. We have to become selfless, not selfish, but selfless.
But Maharaj, what is the right interpretation then for the various purports, which lead to go back to Godhead within this lifetime, or finish your business in the material world and go away? So.
Well, Srila Prabhupada, if he's encouraging us in that way, then we follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. We can think like that. You have to consider everything. One who is actually back to Godhead, he can still be here in this world. It's not that he has to go out of this world. One who's actually back to Godhead can be here. He may not change. He may still be on this planet. Prabhupada said, for the pure devotee, this is a spiritual world. He doesn't see anything as material. If he's really the pure devotee, he sees everywhere the spiritual world. He sees everything in relation to Krishna. So you have the deity, you see the deity, it's Krishna. It's not just a deity, it's Krishna. When I became a devotee, every week we were given, we were to sit in front of the deities and make a report. We were trained right from the very beginning of our Krishna consciousness. I joined the movement in London, and at that time London was the only temple with big deities of Radha and Krishna. We had Radha, Landaneshwara. And every Sunday we were told we had to sit there in the temple and we should go in front of the deities and make a report and tell the deities what service we're doing. And in this way, we would develop a very intimate connection with the deity. But sometimes, you go to a Mayavadi temple, you see how they worship the deity. They hardly put any clothes on the deities, and they don't have fresh flowers, everything is plastic. For them, it's not really a deity, it's murti puja. And it's just a material representation. So there's a big difference how we worship the deities and how these other people are worshipping. What their standard of worship is. We want to recognize the Lord, to see the Lord. The Lord is there, He's come. He's descended in the form of the deity. Okay? Yes, any more questions there? What is this? What kind of... Yes, someone read?
Sanatan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Vaishnava Association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he is not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava. But a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. Hare Krishna.
Okay, all right, so we were hearing we should give up the association of people who are not advanced. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on that. He said, even if one is a Vaishnava, but if he's not of good character. So, some people, they're devotees, but they're weak. They don't follow very strictly. So his company should be avoided. But at the same time, because he's a devotee, because he has some attachment to the Lord, we offer him respect as a devotee. And anyone who accepts Vishnu is accepted as a Vaishnava. But a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities. One who is a devotee is expected to have good qualities. One who is not having good qualities, then they have to improve by practice of devotional service. Simply by doing devotional service, gradually they'll develop all the good qualities, right? Who knows the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam? Yashyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunais tatra samaste suraha haravabhaktasya kato mahadgana manoratena sati bhavato bahi. Right? One who is a devotee, he will have all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee, even he's very expert in maintaining his family, or he's very expert in practicing the mystic yoga system, but if he's not a devotee, he has no good qualities because he's still struggling with the modes of nature. Sometimes he's in passion, sometimes in ignorance, sometimes goodness. Is it clear? I hope so.
Correction.
Yes? So one of the qualities of the devotee here mentioned, the exact meaning of the word sattvena is given by Sridhar Swami as being synonymous with dharayena or patience. One must perform devotional service with great patience. One should not give up the execution of devotional service because one or two attempts have not been successful. One must continue. Sri Rupa Goswami also confirms that one should be very enthusiastic and execute devotional service with patience and confidence. Patience is necessary for developing the confidence that Krishna will certainly accept me because I am engaging in devotional service. One has only to execute service according to the rules and regulations to ensure success. This is sloka number 16. This is a purport. Alright, so it's clear, I think you all know Upadeshamrita, Prabhupada's quoting Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, Utsahan, Nischayat, Dharyat, enthusiasm, patience, confidence, and Prabhupada's bringing out the importance. Patience is necessary for developing confidence. Confidence what? That Krishna will accept me. One has only to execute service according to the rules and regulations to ensure success. So you do things the right way, you'll get the right result. If we're not doing it properly, we cannot expect to get the result. All right? Text 17. Someone like to read?
Sharda Mataji.
Sharda Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. Qualities of a Madhyama Adhikari. Mahatam bahumanena dinanam anukampaya maitriya jaivatma tulyesu yamena niyamena cha. The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. But all his activities should be executed under regulation and with control of the senses. Hare Krishna.
Okay, that's text 17. You can see Madhyamadikari again being described, the different qualities of the Madhyamadikari. Continuing here, text 17, the 4 qualities. Respect the spiritual master and the acharyas, compassion to the poor, friendly with persons who are his equals, and executing all his activities under regulation and with sense control. All right, so nothing new there. One of the important qualities of the devotee, humility. The symptoms of a devotee are meekness and humility. Although spiritually very advanced, he will always remain meek and humble. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that one should be humbler than the grass on the street and more tolerant than the tree. One should not be proud or falsely puffed up. In this way, one will surely advance in spiritual life. Text 18. So humility. Prabhupada is very humble. There was a pastime. The devotees were all in the airport. It was in the old days, 1970s. And, in those days we could all go in the airport, and Prabhupada was leaving, he was taking a flight. So many devotees all went with Prabhupada to the airport, and devotees were all sitting around, and, they were having kirtan. Prabhupada was sitting there, and devotees were all sitting on the floor. But the airline people got a bit upset, so they called over the devotee in charge. I think it was Rupanuga Prabhu at that time. And they spoke to him and they told him, you got to get your people out of here. So Rupanuga, after hearing from the airline people, the airline people were really getting upset. So he came in and he yelled out, "Everyone get out here immediately." And Prabhupada heard him, and Prabhupada also got up. And so Rupanuga said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, not you." And Prabhupada thought he was also to go out. So that's Prabhupada's humility, that he also considers himself the devotee, like all the others, one of the family. So it's important to be humble. Try to get rid of the false ego. And by practice of devotional service, we should naturally get rid of our pride and become humble. The more one becomes advanced, then the more humble one becomes. And we see that in the songs of the acharyas. For example, Narottam Das Thakur talking about, we sing every morning, that there's no one more fallen than me. Lord Chaitanya, you've come to deliver the fallen souls. You should deliver me first. I'm the most fallen. My claim is first. And then also in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, not Krishnadas Kaviraj, Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat, he said, Jagai Madai Haiti Munise Papishta Purashera Kitahiti Munise Lagishta. He said, I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. Anyone who utters my name will lose all their pious activities. Anyone who hears my name, they will become sinful. Only the mercy of Lord Nityananda could deliver such a fallen soul as myself. And Prabhupada says when they're talking like that, these souls, they actually meant it. They actually meant it. They were not just putting on a show of being humble. They really meant it. They were so humble, so gentle. So that is the sign that somebody is advancing. The more we're free of that false ego. All right? Someone like to read this next slide, please?
Sri Prada Mataji.
19 and 20. Results of this practice. When one is fully qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely purified, he is immediately attracted simply by hearing my name or hearing of my transcendental quality. Text 19. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. Text 20.
No. Thank you very much. Okay. So, this is the process of Krishna consciousness. All the good qualities are there. It's immediately attracted by hearing the name of the Lord. And then the example is given like the chariot of air carries an aroma. Similarly, engaging in devotional service, we can catch the Supreme Soul who is present everywhere. Immediately we can catch the Supreme Soul. Just like immediately you get the aroma, you can catch the scent carried in the air. So in the same way, the devotee can immediately understand the presence of the Supreme Soul. As a breeze, it's similar, isn't it? Just what, like we just read. As a breeze carrying a pleasant fragrance from a garden of flowers at once captures the organ of smell, so one's consciousness, saturated with devotion, can at once capture the transcendental existence of the personality of Godhead, who in his Paramatma feature is present everywhere, even in the heart of every living being. Text 20, purport. Okay? Respecting all living beings. Offenses in bhakti. If we don't respect living entities, we're guilty of offenses. We have to be very cautious how we deal with others. Text 21 and 22, disregard. The Lord says, I am present in the heart of every living being as a super soul. If one disregards my presence in all beings, his worship of the deity is simply an imitation and is like offering oblations into the ashes. Now, if you ever do a fire yagya, and if you're offering oblations, putting ghee, throwing ghee into ashes, it's completely useless. And in a similar manner, you should understand, worship of the deity, if we're not giving proper respect to all living entities, understanding the super souls there, then it becomes useless. Now this should be properly understood. Giving proper respect to all living entities doesn't mean we let the dogs come into the temple room. Yeah, we don't mind giving prasadam to dogs, but they don't get to come into the temple. That's all. We have to know proper what is the standards. So these things have to be understood with some intelligence. Offenses in bhakti, 23, hatred. The mind of such a separatist who worships me but hates other beings does not attain peace. And then 24, criticism. I am not pleased with such a devotee, such a person who criticizes other beings, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia. This is something we have to be very cautious about. Fault finding and being critical of others. And so, the Lord says here, He is not pleased with such people. We may be worshipping with so many paraphernalias and things, but if we're critical of others, it's very harmful for our devotional service. Better to see our own faults and see the good in others. That is what Prabhupada wanted, and that was what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted. He didn't like to hear about the faults of others. He wanted to hear about their good qualities. So in relation to respecting all living beings, there's 6 kinds of offenses to a Vaishnava. To blaspheme a Vaishnava, to not offer respectful obeisances upon seeing a Vaishnava, to not feel delight upon seeing a Vaishnava, to get angry with a Vaishnava, to think ill of a Vaishnava, to kill a Vaishnava. Krishna, God forbid, I hope no one will ever kill a Vaishnava. Okay.
There's a hand raised.
Yes? Some questions are there?
Hare
Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, on the previous slide, hatred and criticism, like being in the moment and spending a few decades, still we do not gel with the devotees. What we can conclude from this? Like say myself, I will take an example. I'm there last 20 years, but still I do not, somebody offended me, then now I'm not excusing him and I'm not giving him services. Is that right attitude?
No, it's not right attitude. You definitely can't go back to Godhead with that attitude in your mind. If you've still got some bitterness to someone, there's certainly going to be an obstacle to you going back to Godhead. One thing we heard from Bhakti Tirtha Swami before he left the world. You know, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he was a black American devotee, and he got cancer, and he had to, he departed from the world. He departed in Gita Nagari in USA. But he spent quite a lot of time with, especially His Holiness Radhanath Swami was with him quite a bit of time, because they were very close to each other. They'd both been working under Kirtanananda Swami in New Vrindavan. So they were close to each other. But Bhakti Tirtha Swami, I thought that was one thing which came out from him before he left the world. He said that definitely if we have any bad things in our heart, we want to get them out before we leave the world. And we saw the same thing also with Srila Prabhupada, that when Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers came to see him, and it was just a short while before Prabhupada departed from the world, they came to see him. And when they came to see him at that time, then Prabhupada apologized to them. And Prabhupada said to them, he said, if I've offended any of you in any way, please forgive me. He said, I don't want that. Because Prabhupada knew he didn't have long left in the world, so he wanted to get rid of any kind of bad feelings which may have been there between him and his godbrothers. So Prabhupada requested them that, he said, please forgive me for any offenses. I preached sometimes I said things I preached very strongly, and sometimes you may have offended you. But of course they all said, no, you didn't offend us. They all said like that. But it was very nice that, he wanted to clear this. He didn't want there should be any bitter feelings between them. So that kind of hatred is certainly a big obstacle to us going back to Godhead. So you definitely want to get that out of your mind and get it out of the way, whatever has to be done. And it may be requiring becoming humble. Maybe you have to, take the lower position, but it's better to get out, to get rid of it. Don't keep it there. Don't keep it as an obstacle to your devotional service. Having some hatred, bitter feelings, bitterness. No. We say live and let live. Yes, it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than trying to carry it with you for so many years. You can carry it with you till your next life. Next life again, you may be put in a situation with the same person that may be there, may bring you back. Because you have some bitter feelings to someone, next life you may be born. There was one man, he came to Prabhupada, his son was mentally retarded. So the man asked Prabhupada, what happened? Why is my son like this? And Prabhupada told the man, he said, in your previous life, you owed this son of yours, the boy who is your son now, in your previous life, you took money from him and you did not pay him back. So the man hated you because you did not pay back the money. So now to give you pain, he has come as your son in this way, in a mentally retarded form, just to give you pain. So these kind of things happen. We should all be very cautious about the law of karma and take great care to try to remove any bitterness or hatred feelings which we're keeping in the heart. Is that clear? Yeah? Okay.
No, Maharaj. Like as you said, like when we are in the management position or when certain position is given, we misutilize sometimes. Like we don't care. We think that I am superior. Okay, I cannot give services. That attitude is, as you said, it is not good. Maybe we are doing for so many decades, or so maybe I may be a president or whatever it may be. But if I am not giving the service to others, or if I am jealous about others, so whatever sadhana I am doing, that is a question mark.
Yes, so?
Anyway, you clarified, Maharaj. I got the answer. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, your sadhana is not really going to help you carry these kind of things in your heart.
True, Maharaj. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Respecting living beings. 4 kinds of blasphemy to a Vaishnava. A. To blaspheme a Vaishnava for his or her apparent low birth or caste. Birth or caste. You cannot criticize people for that. B. To blaspheme a Vaishnava for previous sinful activities prior to one's surrender to Lord Krishna. Oh, before we were devotees, I was not born in a very pious family. I wasn't born with following the 4 regulative principles. So I don't come from a Vaishnava background. So certainly sinful activities were there. But once we surrender to Krishna, then it changes. So we shouldn't criticize people for their past. Then C, to blaspheme a Vaishnava for some unpremeditated accidental fall down. Unpremeditated accidental fall down. In other words, it was a one-time thing. It wasn't something which happened regularly. It was unpremeditated. It was accidental. It can be overlooked. D, to blaspheme a Vaishnava for the last trace of his or her previous sins or faults that are almost rectified. So the last traces are there. Take some time to remove everything. We shouldn't criticize. We should be patient. This is from Harinam Chintamani, Chapter 4, Criticizing Saintly Persons. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, if we criticize him, bear bad feelings towards him, or hear him criticized, we are involved in sadhu ninda. Blaspheming a devotee incurs the anger of Krishna. So these are all points in respecting living beings. So what is the solution? Text 25 to 27 describe how to realize the presence of the Lord in everyone, everything. So respecting all living beings. A devotee should try to understand everything in relationship with Krishna and try to serve everything in that spirit. To serve everything means to engage everything in the service of Krishna. If a person is innocent and does not know his relationship with Krishna, an advanced devotee should try to engage him in the service of Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness can engage not only the living being, but everything in the service of Krishna. From text number 21, purport. Very subtly put by Srila Prabhupada. A devotee should not ignore any living entity. The devotee must know that in every living entity, however insignificant he may be, even in an ant, God is present, and therefore every living entity should be kindly treated and should not be subjected to any violence. All right, so proper respect for all living entities. I was with Prabhupada one time in London. We went to a Hindu temple. They had Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And Prabhupada said, devotee of Krishna not only offers respects to Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, he will offer his respects even to a tiny insect like an ant, because he understands that the Lord is present even in the heart of the ant. All right, someone else can read.
Respecting all living beings. In modern civilized society, slaughterhouses are regularly maintained and supported by a certain type of religious principle. But without knowledge of the presence of the God in the every living entities, and any so-called advancement of human civilization, either spiritual or material, is to be understood as a being in the mode of ignorance. Bhagavad 3.29.22.
All right, if there's no understanding of the presence of God in every living entity, then it's simply the mode of ignorance. Doesn't matter how sophisticated we may be.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one question, can I ask?
Yes, please.
Maharaj, in the previous slide where we see that even an ant should be respected. Maharaj, but what happens sometimes that some aggressors are like that in society, they're harming us. Okay, or suppose somebody is trying to harm us or rob us or something, the right of defense also comes, and in Bhagavad Gita also the 7 people has been recommended that if they are aggressor, they can be punished. So how we see that one?
Well,
if somebody is aggressor and is harming or troubling us, or suppose he can endanger to our life also, in that case, in defense of our own life, we respond back in a violent way or to defeat the aggressor.
Yes.
How we'll see, because we see that person, if he is aggressor and is trying to kill us or harm us or rob us or humiliate us, still we see that Krishna is in it, and still we can see in that way, or we have to respond back him, no?
Well, of course, somebody is an aggressor, somebody is giving us, going to attack us or use violence against us, we have to protect ourselves. Yeah, so we have a right, of course, to defend ourselves. I think it was Madhvacharya one time, he dealt very severely with some thieves who had attacked them. So yes, that is justified. We're justified to take care, to protect ourselves, because the body is given to us by the grace of Krishna, and we want to use it for the service of Krishna. So somebody's going to do harm against us, we have to protect the body, because the body is given to us by the grace of Krishna for Krishna's service. And somebody's going to do harm to us, so they're harming Krishna's property.
Okay. Maharaj, that although we said each living entity has a Krishna as a super soul in him, and although whose person is harming us, he also has a Krishna as a super soul in him. How we see that one?
Yes, he has the super soul in him, but he's not taking direction from the super soul. He's covered, right?
Okay, Maharaj. This was my doubt, how he is doing that wrong.
He's in the mode, his consciousness is covered. So in the mode of ignorance. All right.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay.
There's one more question, Maharaj.
Yes, one more question. Okay.
Maharaj, in the previous slide we discussed about accidental fall down.
Yes.
My question is, if a devotee is in Brahmanical initiated and is somehow got into illicit relationship, can we think that as an accidental fall down?
Well, you have to consider, was it a one-time thing? Was it unpremeditated? You have to consider...
Exactly, Maharaj. That word I was not clear. That is the reason I asked this question.
Tell me again what happened?
Accidental fall down, can we treat this as an accidental fall down? I am a Brahmanical initiated devotee, but somehow because of influence of Maya, I am in illicit relationship. So is that an accidental fall down, or it is something else?
Well, if it's the relationship is, it's not just premeditated, it becomes habitual. It's not just a one-time thing. There's actually a relationship there. It's not just one thing, some contact, unpremeditated incident which happened, but it's something which is where there's an actual relationship there between the man and the woman. And then it's a fall down.
Yeah, it is not an accidental fall down. It is a fall down from the position.
Yes, there's certainly, it's not.
So can I say that accidental fall down is like unknowingly it has happened and I was not in thought of that and it has happened. That is called accidental. Can we treat like that, Maharaj?
Yes, right.
Thank you.
Unknowingly and without any thought of it, you didn't have any intention, but somehow it happened. Like somebody, maybe you may be sitting with people and talking to people, and they pass around cigarettes and they give you a cigarette and you take it, and somehow you didn't, maybe you used to smoke before you became a devotee, and then they pass around cigarettes and you take the cigarette, and then after, I shouldn't smoke, you forgot. It was unpremeditated. So like that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah.
But if it's premeditated, then it's fall down. It's habitual, becomes habitual. That's premeditated. That's fall down. Okay, we'll go ahead. Similarly, we may offer many valuable items to the deity, but if we have no real sense of devotion and no real sense of the Lord's presence everywhere, then we are lacking in devotional service. In such a state of ignorance, we cannot offer anything acceptable to the Lord. Text 24, purport. So respecting everything, that's the Lord's property, the Lord's presence everywhere. And if we don't have that kind of mood, offering everything to the Lord, seeing everything for His pleasure. We may offer many valuable items, but if we have no real sense of devotion, no real sense of the Lord's presence everywhere, then we are lacking in devotional service. All right? So prasadam distribution. This is important. Prabhupada explains here, it is not that one should create a temple in his private apartment or private room, offer something to the Lord, and then eat. One should exhibit his compassion for ignorant living entities by distributing prasad. Distribution of prasad to the ignorant masses of people is essential for persons who make offerings to the personality of Godhead. Text 24. So we offer to Krishna, that's the first thing. After offering to Krishna, then we're meant to distribute. Prabhupada explained, what is householder life? Householders are meant to call out, is anybody hungry? Food is ready in my home, come and eat. So here also, Prabhupada is saying, we don't just keep the deity and offer to the deity and then we eat ourselves. Whatever food we offer, we should be distributing to people. Distributing prasad to the ignorant masses, essential for persons who make offerings. We want to please Krishna, we should distribute. Okay. So mana and dana. Mana is respect offered to a superior, and charity, dana, is offered to an inferior. And so two kinds. One is given to the superior, and we don't give charity to a superior. We give charity to an inferior. But when we offer something to a superior, it's out of respect for them. So you want to give donation to Prabhupada. It's not dana, it's mana. It's respect we're offering. Okay, going ahead, next section about graduations of living entities. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects. O Blessed Mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Okay, that's 28, and we can go on to 33. Let's see. Would someone like to read 29?
Sushmita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects. O Blessed Mother, and among them...
No, I just read that one, Mataji.
The next one, it's not in the slide.
Have you got the book? I'll read it for you then. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell, and better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. So it goes on like that. Text number...
Can I read, Maharaj?
Okay, go ahead. Text 30.
Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth, and better still are those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds, and better still are the human beings.
Yeah.
Text 31.
Yeah.
Among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best, and in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is the best, and among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of Veda is the best. Text 32. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. And better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahminical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Text 33. Therefore, I don't find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation.
All right, I'll read a little bit from text 28. We must treat the lower living entities compassionately, but this does not mean that we have to treat them in the same way we treat other human beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but the treatment should be discriminating. Just how discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses concerning the different grades of living conditions. And so it goes on, text 34, such a perfect devotee, that's on the slides, can you see? Someone can read, 34, 35, 36.
Tatavitnimai Prabhu. Udarsham Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Lord Kapila's conclusion. Text 34. Such a perfect devotee offers respect to every living entity because he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as a super soul or controller. Text 35. My dear mother, O daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. Text 36. This Purusha, whom the individual soul must approach, is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality and his activities are all spiritual.
Okay. Okay, and here we have, going on, the final section here of the chapter about the characteristics of time. Because Devahuti had asked about time, so answer to question 6 about the time factor. Time is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the master of all masters. Text 38. The time factor, who causes the transformation of the various material manifestations, is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know that time is the same Supreme Personality is afraid of the time factor. Are we afraid of the time factor? We can see Krishna through the presence of time. Okay, here's some different points from this section which we've been discussing. Yes? Question? Hare Krishna?
Other than please the Lord, that is called pure devotional service. One should execute his prescribed duties and one's devotional activities regularly. Thus, spontaneous attraction to Krishna, names, qualities, and pastimes develop from the practicing pure devotional services. 14 to 19. One should respect all living entities as Krishna, as a super soul is within everyone's heart. 20 to 35. One must approach the super soul, the Lord, in the heart, for he is the supreme controller and time factor and the goal of the yoga. 36 to 43. Knowledge of time as a yoga, as a Lord Vishnu's energy impels one to understand and all devouring effect of time and detach one from the material activities.
Okay.
44.
Yes, right. Okay. So these are some of the conclusions from this section. Just to finish off. Samyak Gayate, complete knowledge. Oh. First of all, there was vibration. Then from vibration there was sky, creation, beginning of creation. And then from sky there was sound. Then from sound there was air. Then from air there was electricity or fire. From electricity there was water. And from water there's land. This is shortly described. Then how the mind is created, intelligence is created, how the controller is created. So it is not that we are simply chanting and dancing. That is the ultimate goal of life. But we know how this creation has taken place, how it is being maintained, how it will be annihilated, what will happen after annihilation. Everything we know by the Sankhya philosophy. Srila Prabhupada lecture on first verse, third chapter, first canto, third chapter, text 10, September 1972. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions? Anybody has any questions on this section? We were hearing about the main point, devotional service, how we can be influenced by the modes of nature, and it will certainly harm our devotional service. We want to be very conscious of our mood and our having the proper attitude in engaging in devotional service. Giving up pride and hatred and envy and all of these being harsh with others, all of these things, they're against the mood of pure devotion.
There is no hand raised, Maharaj.
Okay, so then we'll finish here tonight, and this is the last class, and then you'll have a break for 10 days, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And we'll be back when?
On 4th, your class starts on the next unit, Maharaj.
Okay, so we'll see you on April the 4th. Have a good holiday. I hope you can catch up and keep up with everything, do the coursework, and we'll see you on April the 4th. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.